things are about to be accomplished. Then Jesus began to say to them, beware that no one leads you astray. Many will come in my name and say, I am he, and they will lead many astray. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. This must take place, but the end is still to come. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will be famines. This is but the beginning of the birth pains. So true to tradition, we're going to go with the larger scope of things and not focus just on any minutia of what the scripture has here. And we're going to go with an overarching thing. And the overarching theme is, how did the disciples receive this message that was given today? More importantly, how do we receive this message? How do we receive messages in our lives? Kind of makes us wonder. So as we think about that, this man, Frank Warren, started a blog that was supposed to only be a temporary community art project in 2004, and is still going strong today in 2018. This blog was titled postsecret.com. So what's that about? Well, the rules were as such. He invited people to mail in postcards that had secrets on them. Wouldn't you have liked to have been Frank Warren? Think of it all you could read. But the rules were as such. 2 rules. They had to be anonymous, and something that is a secret to you that you're sharing on this post couldn't be shared before to anyone else. So, what would he get? Kind of makes you wonder what's out there in North America, right? Here's the thing, this post is still going strong today. There'll be thousands sit in every week, all these secrets going. And what does he do? He reads them all, and then he picks 10 to 20 secrets to post on his blog every Sunday. You all are going to go home and do this, aren't you? You're going to see what secrets out there. Because we all know someone else's secret's way better than our own. There's a few reasons for that. One is we don't live with their guilt. We live with our own, right? We don't have to deal with their life, so it's fun to know about them. But when we got to look at ourselves, that gets a little more difficult. Well, the secrets that were given were covered on an emotional spectrum, anything from humor to heartache. Apparently, he thought such humor were something like, once a girl in high school had a boyfriend who only went to Star Wars conventions even though she wasn't into it, and then he dumped her on top of it. Yeah. Vegetarians sometimes think of meat. Some people suffer from eating disorders and they don't want to tell their parents about it. Someone else worries that their insomnia is going to get them fired. Wow. Another person can't stand their in-laws. Someone else, on a more serious note, had an affair, but they stopped before they got caught until they told it in the card. But because it's anonymous, nobody still knows. Examples like this of many more. What are some of the secrets that you have that you could write into Frank Warren about? Yeah, the anxiety in the room just went up. It's like, I'm not doing that. Think about it. That leads us to think about a few things. If we have secrets, why are they secret? You ever think about that? What does that mean? What would happen if we let people into that part of our life? We might be exposed. But with this exposure, what does that bring about? Would our lives change? Would they grow? Here's a thought. Could our lives have the potential to even heal. I mean, we're busy protecting them. The truth is, all of us have secrets. We just do. Henry Nouwen from Bread for the Journey has written, "We all have secrets. Those are thoughts, memories, feelings that we keep to ourselves. And we often think, if people knew what I feel or think, they would not love me." Wow, isn't that powerful? We have secrets because we're afraid, fear that someone is going to reject us, not accept us. The vulnerability in that often is too painful for fear that we may not get through this. And these carefully kept secrets we hold and we guard them. And they keep us from living. They can do a lot of harm because they have the power that we give them to make our own selves feel guilty about ourselves or ashamed. They may lead us to feeling this self-loathing or self-rejection. They may cause depression and even suicidal thoughts and actions, all out of a fear. One of the most important things we can do then with our secrets is to disempower them. And we disempower them by giving them a safe place to be exposed with people we trust, within situations we have. We look for good ways to bring our secrets into light, because in the darkness, they're not helpful. And when we look at them, we don't do it by ourselves, because we all know what we can do inside our own heads, right? We look at them with another set of eyes, another warm heart. And we quickly discover in this critical process that, whoa, we are not alone. Now, maybe they have a different secret, and it may not seem as bad as ours, but that's because we're living our own secret. They're not living ours, they're living their own. And when we come together in this, we find that this creates a sense of community, of healing. Because in sharing these secrets, not only will others love us better, but get this, we get the chance to learn how to love ourselves more fully. And this loving ourselves more fully is the secret to wholeness of living. So with that stated, the concept of secrets lead us to toy with this idea of what's going on in the text today. You know, some have said about this text, well, Jesus was just saying whatever because he was giving us an asked a need to know basis, and the poor disciples, they just couldn't pull their heads out and figure it out. Maybe you haven't said that, but it has been said. Does this mean that people are keeping secrets from us if we're only on an as to need to know basis? And then that answer begs the question of, well, who gets to decide if you need to know something or not? So Jesus basically, I take the interpretation, answers the questions from the disciples fully. But the disciples don't understand because they were unable to understand at the time. Much like you and I are unable to understand a whole lot of things in life. Have you ever heard somebody say, well, you didn't tell me that? Yes, I did tell you that. No, you did not tell me that. That's not what I heard when you said that. Okay, that may not be what you heard when I said that, but that's what I was telling you. Those arguments. Kind of envision that was going on here. So then, basically, that means we have a responsibility in our communication process. What did I hear? What did I think I heard? And am I communicating that with the other person? And because of the time and place and space in which we live, we only absorb so much. We got a whole lot of, we have a conversation going on with that person. But there's another conversation going on, the one that each of us have inside our own heads. And then there's that conversation on what each of us thought the other person said. And so with all of that going on, how responsible are we in communicating with one another? Secrets probably mean we're not taking the time to communicate effectively. We're not listening well with ourselves first, with the other, and with God. So when we think of it in that regards, that doesn't mean secrets are always intentional. It does mean they are destructive, but not because we're trying to be. Maybe simply because we can only be so much available at that moment, at that time, in that place and space in which we're living and breathing. So if that's the case with us, couldn't that be the case with the disciples? They only got so much. And so we read in our text where Jesus keeps coming back to these same discussions again and again, with the same people again and again. Hopefully each time they get it just a little bit more. And isn't it that way with our relationships? Oh, did I hit a hard one there? Sometimes we need to make ourselves available again and again. And sometimes that person exasperates us again and again. And I'll admit it, sometimes I exasperate myself again and again. And then we have to take a deep breath and go, wow, I heard that. And maybe that's what that person meant that many years ago. But where are we today? And how do we go about finding each other again and again, moving forward with a sense of health about us, healing and wholeness? You see, in our text today, the disciples were wanting to know about the temple and when it was going to fall apart. Now, some have said, well, Jesus spoke this messianic secret. Have you heard about that? We happen to be reading that. See, I couldn't plan this stuff, Joan, if I had to. Who knew that chapter 12 of our small study would come up on the week that I'm talking about secrets, but it did. I like to think that's God working through the lectionary. And the secretive language that has been given toward the Bible. Well, the secret, in my opinion, comes mostly from us not knowing ourselves or availing ourselves to know one another and then to know God, or vice versa, whichever way you want to look at it. To view the things in the light for the disciples, that was going to lead them to a way of thinking that was so different than what they were comfortable with, so they didn't get it. They had to hear it from all different kinds of angles. That leads us, you and I, why do we need to know this stuff? It leads us to questioning, what is religion? Who is God? Who is Jesus in light of God, and how is Jesus going to help us get to know God a little bit better? And if we subscribe to the thought that, well, Jesus was only writing from a secretive mode because he knew all, and we just had to come to figure it out, and he knew that, and he only shared so much with us on this as-to-need-to-know basis type of thing, it means that religion becomes distorted. It becomes a controlling system that holds power. And in that power, we are ruled. And in that ruling, we're serving a God who wants to control. And in that controlling, love is now not universal and unconditional. It becomes very segregated and very conditional. So the implications for who God is calling us to become becomes distorted, and we begin to act that way and behave that way, and our church becomes a cross-section of that way. And then, is that what we thought church was about? But yet that message has gotten out there. Simply because we have our own precepts of who we are, who we think we are, and how we represent that to others. And we already have a preconceived idea of who the other is and who we think they are and how they are to interact or not interact with us. And then we have a preconceived notion of what church is and how church should cater to us and feed our needs and help us. And then when it doesn't, then we become dismayed. And with all of this, and the lack of communicating with one another and listening to one another, we lose focus of who God is for our life, and how we are to minister to others, and how we will help God in to heal us. So then if we believe God to be one and pure of acceptance and unconditional love, then that means we are willing to trust in God. It's risky, I know. But we're willing to trust in God in a way that we may not have trusted in other. And then we take it one step further. We believe that God will help us trust in the other. Wow, that's powerful, isn't it? So as we do that, we trust that process for hope and healing to occur. That means we will be willing to continue and grow and develop. That we will be able to assume and accept information and responsibility for the situations that avail themselves to us. That we will be willing to grasp a hold of, to claim and proclaim the fuller selves of who we are in this equation of life. Thereby learning to love ourselves more fully, and with that, healing comes for all. Even the person that we think we have the right to hate. That's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, isn't it? So that leads us to a key question to begin this whole process. What makes us do what we do? How often do we ask ourselves that? When we're in the throes of a good, strong, mad, or we're busy winning the argument with our significant other, of which I'm not, going to say if we're guilty of that or not. What makes us do what we do? And do we own it? Because that starts the healing process. Secret confessions are something we all need to have in partnership, not in isolation, but in partnership with. This step begins by unburdening our hearts, learning to risk this element of trust, knowing that when we do this, guess what happens? Our faith develops and grows. How exciting is that? We need to understand and trust that God helps us get there, no matter what, no matter how much we have to rebuild, no matter how painful our situation we may find ourselves in, no matter how much we miss that mark. We trust this process and we remain faithful, knowing that God's wisdom will carry us through, and that the path and the ways of Christ we learn to accept. And through that, we listen, we communicate, we receive information outside of our limitedness, knowing that we will grow into it because we will visit and revisit every situation and people from time to time that impact our lives so that we can grow with them in God. So then our job is to learn to accept and realize if God is for us, we don't have to worry about the rest because the rest will take care of itself. As we open ourselves up, God will put those people in our lives, and God will heal us. We begin to trust more and more. We become stronger. We become more faith-filled. God shows us how and who we are to care and trust and to be cared for and to be trustworthy of with one another. Sharing in this circle of life. Calling people of faith who are there to understand and grow with us, to seek fuller understanding of the Lord. May we begin practicing letting go and letting God this day forward. Giving all over to God, knowing that our support system is here with one another. In this activity, may we find richness. May we find the people that God places in our path, whether expected or not, for the building up of God's community, this God's church. May the Spirit of the covenant empower us to live fully and faithfully in Christ with one another this day forward.